comics are stupid.
No Harry Potter movie is
And
good.
you're like, give me the Snyder Cut. Oh, sorry, just walk in front of you here. Gonna put my popcorn down. Oh, sorry, gotta put this here.
Universal needs to sue Sony.
Hey, I'm an idiot. I was fired from Fox. Let me go.
I'd like actually to see Venom just crush Spider-Man.
Hello everyone, so I'm back today and I was kind of thinking about how I should approach this situation, right, with Disney. And, I gave it some thought and I decided, okay, well, let's just talk about it because I really don't know, how to approach this because there is a problem with Disney right now. And I'm someone who obviously is a very high supporter of Disney. I believe they're a very intelligent company and they do a lot to try to be different from other studios in the way they handle things, and they try to always be innovative, top of the line. They're typically very good at diffusing problems and not coming up with problems. But recently, Disney's had a bunch of their issues, and it really does center, to be honest, I think around the new CEO of Disney, Bob Chapek, and he's someone who I think has been uh, has kind of had this coming to terms time. He's coming to terms right now with Disney as a company, and I think it kind of has hurt their company majorly. You look at the controversies around ESPN, and what's caused by that, and then now you're looking at this new situation with Black Widow and possibly Cruella. And so I wanted to talk about that first, right? So yesterday we learned that Scarlett Johansson is actually going to be trying to sue Disney for for violating a contract in the releasing of Black Widow by putting it on Disney Plus. And essentially, her argument around this was that she got paid, I think they said $20 million, but she lost almost 50 million from Backhand Deals because obviously when an actor, especially a big name actor like Scarlett Johansson, signs a deal for a movie, they also sign a backhand deal. So you get your salary, but then you also get profits based on what the movie makes in theaters, right? So for example, if it makes, you get 20%, let's say, of the cut of the theaters. It's obviously not that big. It'd probably be like 5%, but like that, you get that cut, right? So if a movie is very profitable, you get more money from in your backhand deal. But now when your contract is talked about in terms of the theater sense, but then it's released on Disney Plus, like Black Widow was, you end up in this situation where you actually can lose money if the movie did not make massive money on Disney Plus and theaters. All right, because the percentages then work out, so you'll end up losing money because the movie's just making less money in theaters because it's being less profitable. Therefore, you're losing out on money, which is promised you in your contract, right? And I think that this is something which she has obviously found very problematic. And there is a very simple kind of solution around this, which is just renegotiate the contracts, which Disney did not do because I think their mentality was we'll be able to still pay her all this because, of course, we expect the movie to make massive money on Disney Plus and in theaters, so it should be fine. And but now, of course, they've decided they've been not given her what they promised, and so now she's suing Disney. Now, we may be like, okay, well, it's just Scarlett Johansson, whatever. But this is a bigger issue, right? Because Scarlett Johansson, as a actor and as a person, has been someone who's been very supportive of Disney. Through the Ike Perlmutter contract days, she was around. She stuck it out. She continued. She was very loyal to Disney and to Marvel. And I think that the fact that they're kind of doing this to her now as her, like, I guess, going away present from Marvel and from Disney is very it's very problematic, right? As a company, their image when it comes to talent, and the other report that came out today, or the other thing that came out yesterday at least, was, because I'm going to go in kind of order with this, is Disney then released a statement. And their statement was probably even worse than, because you can make an argument, okay, maybe, she's angry, whatever. Let's go, let's talk about it, let's settle this, we'll give you your money, and then we can all be on good terms, right? Because that's what this is about. And I think then Disney released a statement. I don't know if I have this one right here, but this is a bit of their statement was a bit of a firing back at Scarlett Johansson, basically saying, oh, you're not being sensitive to the fact that we're in the middle of a global pandemic and that you got your $20 million. And I think that's something which is also very unfair for Disney to be attacking her with, because obviously you can't say, well, COVID did this, and then just, but also not renegotiate the contract to begin with, which would have caused none of these problems would have been a thing. So you've kind of got this issue where you're trying to use this pandemic as an excuse, but at the same time, it's not really something you can use as an excuse, because you're sitting here, you know, talking about how she got her money, but she didn't really give her everything you promised, and you're still releasing her movie on Disney Plus, right? So I think and I think that just her getting attacked by Disney is also very problematic, and and then of course today, there's another report comes out that says Kevin Feige is apparently furious at at Disney for not only the way they've treated Scarlett Johansson. They said furious and embarrassed. Not only the way they've treated Scarlett Johansson, but how they released Black Widow on Disney Plus. And we've also known for a while that Kevin Feige's personal view and what he's been pushing for, which was the continued delay of the Marvel movies until such time when they could be released fully and only in theaters, to force people to watch them in theaters, because that's how they're meant to be watched. And he, I think, is someone who, like, look, this was the closest thing to him being angry I could find as a picture, is on the screen. So it's not like this is a guy who typically is angry, right? And the fact that if Disney's able to make him angry because of this, there's a problem. And then after that, there was a report that says saying Emma Stone, in terms of Cruella, is looking at her legal options for suing Disney as well. And you've got this now a bit of a warfare kind of situation going on. And the other part of this is this whole Bob Chapek and Bob Iger situation, right? Because there have also been reports that there have been a clash, a culture clash, I guess, between from the Iger to Chapek regime, and executives aren't sure about this kind of situation and how this is all handled. And to be honest, myself, I'm looking at this and I'm concerned about the situation here, because of how how many issues Disney as a company has gone through since Bob Iger left. And yes, you can say the pandemic has played a role in that, and I wouldn't disagree with you. But also there have been other things which Disney just not been able to have not handled it well. And I think that always comes back to whoever's in charge at the time. And if you can't handle something, that's a problem. And I think that's something which Disney needs to kind of look at and evaluate, because this is a company that's built their reputation for how many years on this idea of being credible, and this idea of just having this sense of almost like this identity of being very talent appreciative and not trying to take advantage of your talent. And when you have a situation where the actual talent is getting mad, and all these issues, the ESPN issues and all this stuff is happening, it really does concern you. Now, when it comes to the legal kind of footing of this, which I wanted to also talk about a little bit, I think the legal argument for this is less there than people think. I think she's good. I think if this goes to court, which again, I'm very hesitant to believe it will go to court, because I think Disney will end up just settling and whatever. I think that the fact that you're losing someone like Scarlett Johansson, right? Because she was supposed to do the Tower of Terror thing. She was supposed to produce it and star in it, I think. But now, obviously, she probably won't be doing that, because I don't know if she'll ever work for Disney again. But you look at all these things, and I do think they'll settle it out of court. But if it does go to court, I do believe she's got a legitimate legal argument based on what I've seen, at least in terms of the contract. Obviously, we don't have any access to those documents, but in terms of what's been reported, I do believe that if she goes to court, she will win. And I think this will set a precedent as well for other studios. And I think normally what happens, right, is Warner Bros. Or Universal are the studios who kind of end up being stuck with this testing phase, and then they're the ones who get in trouble, and then Disney just kind of fixes it. But when Warner Bros. Actually got in trouble with Nolan and Villeneuve and all those guys, in terms of their own projects, and Legendary even, Disney never actually renegotiated those contracts, which I think was a massive failure on Disney's part, because I think that was something which is kind of like, you're just not learning from your mistakes at this point, which is just irresponsible and just bad business. And I think the other thing is that there was this other report which says that there are a lot of actors cheering for Scarlett Johansson and rooting her, and I and rooting for her. And I think that's something which you have to look at as well, because I think that this is something which you've got a lot of little, like, you've got this infighting going on, and they need to figure out what they're doing next, what their plan is, what their strategy is, and how they're going to resolve this. Because if you've got someone like a Kevin Feige who's angry and who's dissatisfied and embarrassed about what's going on here. You've got your top talent, Scarlett Johansson, Emma Stone, and all these other actors who are very much, you know, against this whole, like, who are have their contract being violated. And then you've got this new CEO or executive officer of Disney, Bob Chapek, who had stepped in, and ever since then, all these problems, including the ESPN stuff, has happened. I think you need to you really need to look at this. And when it comes to, and I'm kind of jumping all over the place a little bit now, but when it comes to actually the release on Disney Plus, I do want to make something clear, my position on this, because I'm not someone who's against them releasing it on Disney Plus. I think what they did was essential, especially in the pandemic. And I think they obviously need to, especially because theatrical recovery, kind of people going back there has been slow, and even this whole Delta thing has kind of slowed it down even more. But I think that this is something which the problem is the compensation, right? In the middle ground, and talking to the talent and actually getting their opinions and actually coming to a agreement with them, right? And I think that the other, obviously, there is that aspect of piracy which has been attacked. The theaters have slammed Disney for this. The actors obviously are now fighting with Disney with this, but it is the fact that when the returns overall for Black Widow and other movies have been low because, of course, that the the um the actual pirating of this movie is being just so massive. Every week since it's come out, it has been the top pirated movie or torrented movie according to the people who keep track of these things. And so I think that's another thing which needs to be looked at as a big problem is, why is this movie just being, torrented, and because obviously it is being essentially given an HD copy. And so we also, I think the other things we looked at is kind of looking how we can kind of stop the torrenting of movies, if the plan in the future is to release things on Disney Plus. And I think that's something which needs to kind of happen. And it'll be an interesting situation. I'm very disappointed um, in Disney's kind of, I guess, overall position and how they've handled this. I do hope that Bob Chapek and the kind of other executives at Disney kind of take a look at what they've done and kind of, going for, kind of try to find a way to solve this with Scarlett Johansson and find a way to move forward, because I think that this is something which is a very, very problematic thing, and probably even more problematic than at first that looks. Because when you look at this and you look at the other situations around this, including Bob Chapek coming in and this happening, then I think this is something which is being disastrous, to say the least, for Disney. And I think it could be, you know, it could just be really, really, it could just end really, really bad. And I think that this is something which they really do need to be careful with how they move forward. And honestly, look, I'm someone who is looking at the situation saying a lot of, like, you have to just say, look, Scarlett, Emma Stone, all you guys, like, we just need to talk about this. Let's come to an agreement. Let's try to put this behind us so we can move forward. I don't think there's really anything you can do now. I don't think this is worth fighting in court. I think what you have to do is you have to patch it up with talent, and you have to try to find a way to move forward, because that's the only thing I think you can really do in this situation. But it is a very messy situation. It'll be interesting to see what happens, because I think this isn't over, and I think this is a little bit of the growing pains, I guess, of this new Disney. And I think that we have to kind of see what happens. And at the end of the day, if there's a company again that I would trust enough to handle this and find a way out of this, find a way out of this successfully, it's Disney. I think Disney's inability to kind of learn from Warner Bros. Is kind of an issue, because they could have prevented all this. But yeah, it's a messy situation. But let me know what you think down below about this whole situation. If anything else happens in terms of this, I'll make another video probably or something to talk about it. But I'm just seeing if there anything news happened. but I don't think so. So that's going to probably be it. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, follow us on social media, and of course, see you next time. Bye.